Dorian Greenow with me today from Keto-mojo, and he is joining me from Napa Valley, and I'm here in New Mexico. So let us know in the chat where you are joining us from. We would love to know where you are coming from today. Dorian, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm fantastic. Ketones today were 1.4, which is firmly in my personal zone. So, you know, I love it when I'm between 1.1 and 1.7 for my own mental health. So today's another glorious day in the Napa Valley. Sun is shining and clear, and the fires are gone.
That's fantastic. That is great to hear. And I'm really excited to dig into all of the details about ketones and your ketone levels. If you are just joining us, I want you to drop the word keto, K-E-T-O, below this video, and we are going to send you a link for the Functional Health Coaching Conference. It is going to be taking place next weekend. We are super excited to have everybody, so we want you to get your ticket by October 15th. And you are automatically going to be upgraded to an all-access pass. You are going to get to connect with all of the industry experts, just like Dorian, Dr. Terry Walls, Karen Krishnan, and so many more. So make sure to drop the word keto below this video. If you are watching on YouTube, you can head down to the description, grab the link so that you can get that all-access pass. If you're on YouTube, also hit the bell so that you can subscribe. Awesome. We have Nikki joining us and Esther. So Esther joins us all the way from South Africa, and we've got Nikki joining us from Tennessee. So we are going to have a good crew with us today, Dorian. Are you ready to dig in?
I'm ready. Born ready.
Awesome. So you have a really cool story. So I would love to start off by having you share that story with all of our viewers today.
Yeah, you know, if you're talking about real results, I'm somebody who stands in front of you of it. Back in 2015, I was 207 pounds. All my biomarkers were in the direction of metabolic syndrome. I was on antidepressants. I was screwing up my job terribly, and my life was going in a bad direction. And you know, I needed to do something about it. And a good friend of mine is Todd White of Dry Farm Wines. He does lovely low-carb wines. He goes to me, he's got this southern accent. I'm going to ruin this accent right now. But he goes, you got to cast out those white devils. You got to get the white devils out of your life. And I'm like going, are you serious? Because I don't do fad diets in any way, shape, or form. I've seen my wife do cabbage soup diets and all these other things. But so I started reading up on it. I started looking at the work by Professors Volek and Finney and Taubes and Lustig and delved really into the science. So I went on a well-regulated ketogenic diet. And I'm not the type of guy who tracks his macros, so I did it for the first month. And I was testing with a competitor's meter at the time. And I lost 47 pounds in total. My joie de vivre came back, that I felt like I was 24, you know, that I could take on the world. And as I was looking at these competitor strips, I was like, why are these things $4? Because back then in 2015, ketone testing strips direct from Abbott were like $4. And I still think they're like $3 if you buy them direct from them now. And so I drew up a list of 100 manufacturers across the globe. I cross-matched that to the federal regulations. In 2017, we launched, and the business plan was test 3 times a day for less than the cost of a latte. And that's where we entered into the marketplace with a glucose and ketone meter, and quickly became the #1 selling meter in America. And so our goal is to bring the tools that can affect change and to get better outcomes for individuals, to get the real results, like you said. And so that to us is the most important, and to make it affordable. We launched earlier this year in Europe. And then just at the beginning of October, we launched our 2nd generation meter, the GK Plus meter here in America. So now we've managed to harmonize our European manufacturing and our American manufacturing again. And so when I said it was test 3 times a day for less than the cost of a latte, you know, we went from strips being at $4 down to $1. We've now dropped the price again by a further 20% and lowered the cost of the meter whilst actually adding more features to the meter, adding Bluetooth, and several others. And we've also created over this last year a secure, HIPAA-compliant, encrypted health cloud. And this, I think, is going to be the game changer for the medical professionals and health professionals. We've already linked up 9 electronic health record systems into the system. So what will happen is that, if you're connected into the different systems that'll be available, you can track your patient cohort's results in real time. And as you know, the most successful health practitioners are the ones that keep people accountable.
Yes.
It's hard enough for people just to get them to take a pill. I think there was a study that said that 32% of people don't take pills. So how are you going to get somebody to change their diet? How do you kind of have that method of enforcing? And this is where the beauty of ketone testing comes into play, because you are either in a state of nutritional ketosis or you are not. It's sort of like being pregnant, if you will. There's no middle ground that is in there. You either are or you are not. Now, if a person is in a state of nutritional ketosis and they're following a low carb lifestyle, which is what you have prescribed for that individual, then you know that they're doing what they're asking you to do. The reason why we also add glucose in there is if people are trying to use a metabolic intervention to reverse the effect of, say, type 2 diabetes, the real important piece there is the ability to de-prescribe medications, because, ketogenic lifestyle is prescription strength. If you think about it, that change in blood glucose can be quite profound quite quickly. And if somebody's on a medication, you don't want them to have a hypoglycemia episode. So that's why de-prescribing is really important. So the combination of those factors together is how you can remotely affect outcomes. And in this day and age of COVID and comorbidities caused by obesity, it becomes even more vitally important when we see the number of people, the percentage of an American population that has either diabetic, pre-diabetic, and there's a whole bunch of people who are going around even undiagnosed. And here, for a low-cost item, we can bring that in. And so these are some of the fundamental changes that can bring about some really successful outcomes.
And you are the founder of Keto-mojo. So
yes.
Tell me a little bit more about, I know you have some products, but as a whole, what kind of product and service do you offer for people who are out there in the world?
Yeah, well, we kind of consider ourselves more than a meter. Okay. If you go to our website, we're the absolute anti-sell. I should be better at selling, but our goal was when somebody's metabolic damaged like the way I was, it's really hard sometimes to change that. It can take months. 6 months it took me to lose my weight. So what we have created on Keto-mojo is we've used our profits to give how-to guides. We create 15 new recipes every single month. We talk about the challenges that some people might get, like keto flu, how you can avoid that. And so there's over 200 pages of information that is out there for the consumer. And we also want to make it showcase that, it's not a diet. It's a lifestyle. I've been keto since 2015. I've lived a low-carb lifestyle. I don't sweat my carbs anymore because I know how metabolically flexible that I am. And I don't live my life by a 20-carb rule or a 30-carb rule. I measure my life by am I in a state of nutritional ketosis? And now every time I test, I am in nutritional ketosis. So in theory, I don't really need to be testing anymore. If we've done our jobs right and the coaches have done their jobs right, we give people a new path. Keto-mojo is the training wheels for life, but at some stage you cast them off. And that to me is the joy, because we've made people healthy. Most biotech companies are not in the world of making people healthy. They, especially when they're giving you a pill, they want you to be ill for a long period of time because that makes them money. Whereas we actually come at it at a completely different way. Now, I'm biased. I live a ketogenic lifestyle. I have a ketogenic product. I'm also the president and founder of the Ketogenic Foundation. And what we do with the foundation is it's a non-profit 501c3, and we use part of our profits, or if we introduce a product to somebody, that product, if we're introducing it, be it maybe a keto cookie or a keto bar or something like that. Instead of us taking the revenue on that introduction, that all goes to the foundation to fund clinical trials and studies and education into the efficacy and use of ketogenic therapies for the benefit of humankind. And, so I come from a very biased way. And what we've tried to create is a website that is a utilizable tool. We have our Low Carb USA video series where we have basically licensed hundreds, I think there's 146 hours of videos by some great doctors that you have mentioned that is on there. These were CME credited ones originally, if you were there in person, but you can see them for free as well. So there's a wealth of education, not only just for a layperson, but also for a health practitioner as well. So we kind of like want to give all the different tools to people and give them away as much as possible for free.
That sounds incredible. And it sounds like you have so much to offer. If you guys are just joining us, I have Dorian Greenow with me today, and we are talking about Keto-mojo and how we can track and manage our ketones. So if you're just joining us, drop the word keto below this video, and we are going to send you a link for an all-access pass to the Functional Health Coaching Conference. The Functional Health Coaching Conference is going to be amazing. It is virtual. There is no reason for you to miss it. You can join industry experts like Dorian, Dr. Terry Walls, and Kieran Krishnan, all at the Functional Health Coaching Conference. If you're on YouTube, head down to the description and grab your link there. Dorian.
I just want to say Dr. Walls is a big hero of mine. I've been to her seminars that she did up at Cedar Rapids, and I think the work that she's doing is extraordinary, and I don't miss that. What she brings to the table is pretty amazing. It really is great.
It really is. I'm really excited to hear her speak. I think that she has just done amazing things, and her story is incredible. So I'm really excited to be able to join her as, one of the experts out there at the Functional Health Coaching Conference.
Yeah, I'd love to hear how a clinical trial is doing. I think she got a big NIH grant that she's working towards. So it'll be really great to see the groundbreaking work that she's doing.
I know it's going to be really exciting. Dorian, I would love for you to just cover some of the basics of keto and why it's important.
Yeah, first of all, we're going to cover the different types of testing that you can do on a well-regulated ketogenic diet in more detail between blood, breath, and urine in the presentation. So if you're talking about just sort of like bringing it back to the basics, there are many different types of ketogenic diets, and one size is not going to fit all, and you've got to work out what is your bio-individuality and why you were doing it. And this is where coaches come in as to being so good. So the type of ketogenic therapy or diet lifestyle that you'll use for, say, epilepsy is going to be slightly different to what you might be doing if you're doing the Wolves protocol. It's going to be different if you're doing it for weight loss. It's going to be different if you're doing it for bariatric surgery. Like, there's a lot of people who go on a keto diet to lose weight before getting bariatric surgery. And I always look at this going, well, if it was working for you to lose weight, why don't you maybe wait a little bit more before you actually have to take that surgery and see how much you can really achieve? So what basically a well-regulated ketogenic diet is to begin with, you need to reduce down the carbs sufficient enough for your liver to reach basically a tipping point in which it will metabolize the fat that is on your body or the dietary fat that you are eating for use as energy and fuel. So, in a simple sentence, I like to say that a well-regulated ketogenic diet is adequate fat, moderate amount of protein, and lots of above ground leafy vegetables. It's a very simple sentence in that respect. And what do I mean by adequate fat? Well, adequate fat for that individual. If somebody is very obese, they have plenty of energy on their body. So the amount of fat that you need to consume might not be as somebody like me, who's been doing this since 2015, has got down to their set point weight. And yeah, I'm about 70 to 80% fat. But when I was first starting, I didn't need to have that much because I wanted to have enough fat for satiety in combination with the protein, because that gives that release of that ghrelin hormone, which kind of like makes you feel I'm full. We've all had that, like eating a steak and you ordered the two biggest steak and you kind of like get halfway through it and you're like, oh, there's no way I could eat that. And you push the steak away. Does that happen with cake? No, it doesn't. Because carbs don't give you that feedback loop to say, you need to stop it. Same thing as alcohol. And so that you don't get that, like, I'm done, I don't need any more. Especially I don't, because I live in wine country and there's always more bottles that is there. Well, my wife and I have a phrase, we say we save our carbs for wine, which is pretty true. But I test and I'm in ketosis. I know the level of wines or the residual sugar that I can get with them. So in a sense, that is a well-regulated ketogenic diet. You're keeping your blood glucose down at a steady state, pretty much. You're trying to avoid those big swings or those big pieces of inflation. And you now become dual fueled. Like I am fueled primarily on ketones, and then occasionally, obviously, the glucose will come on in. So even for an athlete, being dual fueled is much better than the person who's single fueled. So you're finding a lot of athletes now are training low carb, yet pulsing in glucose when they want their power that they need to. Do we need to be doing that for daily life? I don't think so. I am of the opinion, and I believe that time will show out that the most optimal way to live, which was the way that we lived maybe 2.5 million years ago, was we were in a general state of nutritional ketosis. It's only the last 10,000 years and since the 1800s that we've had this rise of garbage in our society.
Absolutely. Well, because for most of us, there's food everywhere all the time. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's a valid point. If you think about it, people talk about, well, is there enough food to feed the world? And let's say we are awash in food in America. So I think we have a transportation problem here, a distribution problem, not a food problem per se.
I would definitely agree with that. And I might have to have you on so we can really dig into that one, because I totally agree. I
would love to do that. I mean, I'd like to talk a little bit more about agriculture and permaculture. And, that was a pet little project of mine. So I'll be delighted.
Okay. It's on. We will do that. I will have you back on to do that. Let's talk about, I would like you to share 3 tips on how to track and manage your ketones. Like, what are your top 3 tips?
Top 3 tips. First of all, when first starting, get your baseline as to what you are as your individuality. Because there are some people who will say that 83 is the perfect blood glucose. Well, you've already got metabolic damage. You might find that your set point an hour after waking is about maybe in the 90s or the hundreds. So first of all, get your set point and know who you are as an individual. Then that gives you your baseline in the morning. So an hour after waking is usually the best way to test. Once you kind of like got into that kind of rhythm, then you're going to test about an hour and a half after eating. Why we're doing that is, if you're on a low carb lifestyle, you generally don't want to have more than a 30 milligram per deciliter rise after a meal. If you're keeping it under 30 milligrams, you're not going to sweat it. I would also say for somebody first starting, track your macros. Do you need to track your macros? Well, that is basically knowing how many carbs, protein, and fat that you're consuming. Do you need to do that? I don't do it anymore. I did it for 1 month and 1 month only. And it was just a learning process so that you understand food. You will be surprised how many people do not understand food. They do not understand where carbohydrates can hide. They don't know the difference between net carbs and total carbs. And this will teach you the truth in labeling and understanding that piece. Once you understand where your bio-individuality is, you don't need to then live yourself by maybe, like Dr. Eric Westman says, the 20-gram total carb rule. Or can you be in a state of ketosis of 30 grams or 40 grams? I know I can do 65 grams of carbs and I'm still in a state of nutritionally ketosis because I've been doing it for so long. So that would be number 2. I would like that. So actually I did 3 there. So 1 is every morning, know where you are. Ketones and glucose, that will give you the accountability. Number 2, testing after new food, that when you're trying it for the first time, so you can see what your body does and you can learn those foods. And I just had a senior moment there. That was the sleuthing after the foods. Oh, and the 3rd one was tracking your macros, which is good. And there are great things like Chronometer, apps that can do that. And our meter links in with Chronometer. So if you're already using it, and there are some doctors that actually use it in their practice, that we interlink with those.
Fantastic. How does Keto-mojo and what you offer support what we do as functional diagnostic nutrition practitioners?
Well, firstly, with the new edition of our health platform, we can now allow you to remotely connect on in and see what's going on. But more importantly, it's about accountability. You know, if you've asked your patient to do a certain thing, how do you know they're actually doing it? Normally, it's like, take a pill, come back and see me in 8 weeks. Now, what happens is while you're asking them to test and see if they're in ketosis, you are actually handing over control to that individual. They become in control of their destiny. They can immediately see the choices that they made the night before will have a viable effect. They also have this gamification, if you will. You know, I look on an Instagram site and, it's like 80,000 followers, and you just see people go like, look, I'm in ketosis. They're happy because they've got that control. You know, if you're given a cancer diagnosis and you're trying to do a ketogenic therapy for cancer, for instance, you know, everything seems taken out between your oncologist and radiologist. And my wife is a cancer thriver, so I understand what she went through. But here is something that you, as a patient, can be command of your destiny. You are the captain of your ship, and this is what a good functional medicine person can actually give that gift to them so they can realize it. Meanwhile, they know now that that person is in ketosis, they're doing what they need to do, their glucose is being well managed on that one, and that you have that accountability. And this is the real thing that we bring to the table. And then obviously on our website, we have recipes and the how-tos. People can, if you look at the recipes and say, hey, I want to cook this, this, and this. You choose out your recipes. You press a button, create a shopping list, and it will give you an entire shopping list. And you can write reviews and say, hey, I like this. Or my wife is pretty good when she goes like, you know what? I changed the recipe this way and I found it to be much better. And so that's what we bring with the table with our Keto-mojo website.
Fantastic. Dorian, thank you so much for joining me today. I think you have so much valuable information, so much cool stuff to share. So I'm really excited to see what you have to offer at the Functional Health Coaching Conference. And don't forget to drop the word keto below or head down to the YouTube description and grab that link so you can get your all access pass. Dorian, I would also love to have you back on. We will connect and talk about when to have you back on to talk about some more cool stuff.
Oh, I look forward to it.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for watching today. We will be back next Tuesday with Health Coach PJ. Thank you again, Dorian, for joining me, and we will see you guys.